And one of the things she said in answering the question was, it's not about regulating what's going on the outside. It's about regulating what's going on the inside. Like the ability to withstand life. Excuse me. When it appears that God has not answered our prayers is internal, kind of like, being able to be regulated internally, how to, being able to manage internally. And what I thought about was internal fortitude. And so that statement or that word, internal fortitude, has been on my mind all night. And I woke up, so part of why I was up is I woke up kind of excited to share that with you all this morning as we are talking about fighting. We talked about Monday about fighting for it. We talked yesterday about fighting through it. And I'm so grateful for all of you that share what you're fighting through to accomplish your goals and to stay consistent and committed. And what I thought about in relationship to what Pastor Don said last night was strength, the internal fortitude that it was going to take. It's not so much about what's happening on the outside or what we've even committed to on the outside, but it's about the internal fortitude on the inside, that any goal that we're going to accomplish, any work that's going to be consistent, any ideal that's going to be reached, any achievement that's going to be attained is not so much about what's happening externally, but what's happening with us internally. And part of that fighting for it, fighting through it, has a lot to do with our internal fortitude, And so that's why we, in addition to saying, hey, let's drink water, let's be conscious of our eating, let's make sure we're exercising every day, is that the ability to fight for it and fight through it it's not going to come from me just saying, come on guys, let's do it, come on, let's do it. It's not going to come from even a coach saying, come on, let's do it. There is an internal fortitude that, number one, has to be established and is being established. And so two things are happening simultaneously as we're going through this 90-day challenge. We are being built up externally by what we eat, what we drink, the exercise we're doing, but we're also being built up internally. There is an internal fortitude, an internal resistance band that's being strengthened on the inside of you and I, inside of us, right? That as we shift the mindset and we shift our practice and we remain consistent and we stay vigilant into every part of this process, what's happening to us, it's requiring of us internal fortitude, but I want to encourage you this morning, it's also establishing an internal resistance band. And what is a resistance band? The resistance band is, you can stretch it, but it comes back, but there's a certain level of resistance on it that you can pull it, but you can only pull it so far. You can stretch it, but you can only stretch it so far. And each resistant band is different. They have resistant bands that resemble 5-pound weights. They have resistant bands that resemble 20-pound weights. And so each resistant band has a different strength to it, or a different pull, or a different elasticity, I'll say that, to it. But it's only going to go so far, and then it's going to come back. And so what's happening to you and I, while the process is requiring of us strength, requiring of us an internal regulation, right? It's an internal regulation to get up every morning at 5:15. It's an internal regulation to get out every day and to exercise. It's an internal regulation to try burpees, to push past procrastination, to make sure we're eating so that our numbers are right. It's an internal regulation that has a grieving mother up at 5:15 on a call. It's an internal regulation. This is not happening from anything on the outside. It's all from what's on the inside. And so part of what needs to happen is you need to know how strong you are. The fact that you have not given up, and I'm going to count the days today. I told myself I meant to do that yesterday, and I didn't have a chance to. How many days we're in and how many days we have left. We did not come this far, this consistent, because somebody on the outside or something on the outside was pushing us along. Something on the inside is pushing us along. And so a lot of times you don't know how strong you are until you know how strong you are. You don't know what kind of internal fortitude you have the capacity for until you do something like a 90-day challenge, or for example, in Karen's case, a 6-week challenge. You don't know how strong you are until you're challenging your resistance band, until you're stretching yourself, until you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to try it for 90 days. I'm going to be a part of this group. I'm going to get up. I'm going to do the workouts. I'm going to, do the homework assignments. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to build myself, mind, body, and soul. And that's the stretching, right? That's the stretching. And you don't know your strength until you've been stretched. You actually should write that down. That's a good one. You don't know your strength until you've been stretched, right? But the thing about it is, in the stretching that we're doing every day, we're also getting stronger. So you're being stretched, right? You don't know how strong you are until you're being stretched. You're being stretched, but the stretching, which is why when we exercise, I always say stretching. In the beginning of our process, we did a lot of stretching, so that way we would get in the habit of stretching before and after workouts. But the purpose of stretching is also to strengthen the muscle. So you're being stretched, and you don't know how strong you are until you've been stretched. You don't know your strength until you've been stretched. But in the stretching, we're also being built up stronger. So our internal resistant band may have started out as a 3-pound resistance, but by the end of this 90 days, you're going to be a 10-pound resistant band, meaning that you're going to get stronger, more built up, more developed, right? And so simultaneously, you're being stretched at your capacity, but you're being stretched to build capacity. That there is an internal fortitude that is required to get this far by faith, but there is also an internal fortitude that's being developed as we continue by faith, right? That's why we got to fight for it and fight through it, because not because of what's happening on the outside, but because of what's happening on the inside, because of the regulation that's happening on the inside. And you won't know, check this out. Here's the cold piece, cheerleader. You won't know how strong these 90 days built you up until January 2018, and you've been stretched some more. So there's this constant being built up to be stretched. I'm being built up to be stretched. I'm being built up to be stretched. Every time I'm getting built up, I'm being built up to be stretched. And sometimes it feels like we want to say, God, would you please stop stretching me? Just stop stretching me. I'm tired of you stretching me. Every season, I feel like I'm being stretched. And just when you think you've been stretched as far as you can be stretched, here comes God. And he's stretching a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. But all of that is about the internal regulation that's happening. And so while we are in this process, two things are happening at the same time. My present capacity is being stretched, and my present capacity is being strengthened to greater capacity. And we can't see that happening. We can probably feel it, but we can't necessarily see it. It's not something I can tangibly grab hold of. And I won't really know the manifestation of it until another season comes around, till I'm being stretched some more. And now the capacity that's been developed, it won't be until the future where that capacity is being stretched. And it's being stretched for greater capacity. That's why, every round goes higher and higher, right? It's faith, it's fruit, much fruit, more fruit, right? The text in John, it talks about you'll produce fruit, much fruit, more fruit. And so it's this constant process of present capacity, present band stretch with present agility is being stretched, but it's being stretched to develop more strength. And you and I won't know how strong we are until we're being stretched. And so we won't know just how developed these 90 days have internally regulated us until the next season, or until, let's say, January 1 or the new year or our first 2019 workout. We won't know how much we've been strengthened until we've been stretched again, right? And that's the third part to this talk this morning, is that there will be future stretching, but the future stretching will only be to test the capacity of how you've been strengthened in the last season. And so when people talk about, oh, Lord, give me strength, okay, be careful what you ask for, because when we start saying, God, give me strength, he's going to give you strength. But what's the point of being strengthened if you ain't got to be stretched? See, that's the thing. What's the point of more strength if I'm not going to allow him to stretch me? Excuse me. If I'm not gonna be stretched, then what's the point of more strength? What's the point of more strength if I'm not going to be stretched? Because the whole point of strength is for stretching. The whole point of more strength is for stretching.